Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Eyes of Faith with Michael Roy. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today is Friday, October 21st. The month of October is almost gone. But hey, thank God because the weather is just great. It's going to be a little warm today in Dallas, Texas, but other than that, the weather is great. Hey, let's get some housekeeping taken care of. Hey, if you have not subscribed to Eyes of Faith with Michael Roy, please do me a great favor. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button right there. Yeah, right there. And subscribe to Eyes of Faith with Michael Roy. And for those of you who've already subscribed, I appreciate you. I thank you. And please tell more of your friends, your relatives, your co-workers about this podcast, Eyes of Faith with Michael Roy. And hey, God bless you and thank you for that. Well, we want to go ahead and discuss our topic today. It's just my nature is I believe God has called me to try to do what I can do to help address some of the things that's going on in our current culture. And one of the things I want to share with you today is I believe I'm going to discuss 7 reasons why men are becoming more feminine. I want to talk to you today about 7 reasons why men are becoming more feminine. Now, the reason I'm addressing this is because, I have a daughter. She's 24 years old. She's got a master's degree. She's a speech therapist. And, of course, she has designs on getting married one day. And to be honest with you, be blunt with you, if you look around our culture, there's not a lot of real ready men. I mean, I'm not saying there's none, but I'm just saying this just around our culture, we see so many feminized men. We have so many quote unquote men walking around with ponytails and eyelashes like women and toting purses and wearing girls' clothing and sounding like girls and got their baby hair showing. And it's just so disconcerting, not just for the culture in general, but for young women who've been raised in a environment where they're taught to honor God and glorify God, and where the roles of men and women have been clearly drawn. And so these young women are raised up with the idea of what type of man to look for. So now when they are of the age to be ready to be married, they look around and they see, wow, how can I make a choice? It's just so much going on, but I digress. I want to go ahead and quickly get to some of these things, and maybe I'll discuss them a little bit. One of the major reasons why men are becoming so feminine is that a failure to honor God. We've poo-pooed God. We've decided that we don't need God. We know better than God. We look at all we have in our culture. We have this, we got that, we got technology, we got our house, we got our cars, we got education. We don't really need God, because we know God called Abraham because he said Abraham would raise his children to fear the Lord. Abraham would raise his children to fear the Lord. God designed men to be men and women to be women. Men have certain traits and characteristics that women don't have. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning, is why are things changing, why are men becoming less men than they should be. One of the major reasons is failure to honor God. Number 2, fatherlessness in the homes. Men are becoming more feminine because there's no fathers in homes. For every black child born, let me back up and say it like this: 72% of the black babies being born now are born into a fatherless home, to single women. Listen, that 72% of black babies being born are born into a fatherless home. I mean, a dad doesn't live there. Likewise, for the white population, 35% of children being born are born into a fatherless home. So one of the reasons our young men are becoming more feminized is because the role of the father is not there. That male sense is not there. That male sense, that that man touch, that voice of a man, that voice of security, that voice of authority is not there. The fathers are absent. So if you're going to be a man, you need to watch a man. You need to be around a man. You need to talk to a man. You need to know what a man thinks. You know what a man feels. You need to get direction. I'll go right to the third thing. Because there is no fathers, many of our young men are raised up in the home with their mothers. And unfortunately, sometimes if the mother is upset at the quote-unquote father because he didn't want to marry her or left her, so she is trying to be a father and a mother. And so many times she's frustrated and angry. She becomes domineering, always yelling and screaming at her kids, always being on edge, not knowing what to do. So many young men have been raised up in homes where it's just a mom, and she's doing everything she can just to hang on. And so there's usually a lot of negativity, a lot of fussing and cussing and demeaning, not intentional, but out of frustration. And so I think that causes men to be more feminine. It can actually make them go the other way. It can make them very aggressive and hate women. But when it goes the natural way, it means they become more docile. They become less of a man than God expected them to be. Because the father's not there, now young men are being raised up in a matriarchal environment. So if you got a young man being raised around his mom, his aunts, his grandmas, and historically, especially for the black community, is you usually have a lot of men not there. And so the children are being raised around mom, grandma, aunties, a lot of women. And usually, to be honest with you, I'm being honest, there's a lot of man bashing going on. No good Negroes, blah, blah, blah. I heard a lot of that. I know I did. So it's true. And unfortunately, because of that matriarch environment, these young men wind up modeling themselves after their moms. So the reason these guys are wearing ponytails and girls' clothes and want to look more like women, because they spend all their lives around their moms. I won't push that topic too long. Let me go to the next one. Feminists. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the feminist movement, which was fighting for rights for women, which I understand that women should be able to get educated. Women should be able to have great jobs. Women should be able to work outside home. Women should be able to have careers. I agree with all of that. But I think when women pushed against not having those opportunities, one of the things they pushed against was also is men being the strong, vibrant, aggressive, challenging men that they are. And so when women decided to push against the role that was upon them as women, they started to push men down, try to find ways to weaken the character of men. And because that feminist movement has been so successful, and with fathers not being at home, now you see we have this firestorm that has attacked men. And so because there's no men in the home, the feminist movement is pushed against the natural character of men to pull it down with drugs, Ritalin, all these different drugs to make young men more docile and more able to mold them into their image of what a man should be. More sensitive, more caring, more loving. In other words, women want men that look like them. Well, that's not a man. A man that looks like you, a man that thinks like you, he isn't a man. And that's one of the reasons we have so many feminized men in our culture. I'll go on more in just a minute. Number 5. Think about this. 75% of the teachers in our schools are women. 75% of the teachers in our schools are women. Only 25% of them are men. So most of our young men are raised around women all day long for 18 years if you just go to high school, for 22 years if you go to college, And if you go to medical school, I mean, the number, of course, there are more men in college than in high school, but from a primary school level, 75% of our young men are raised around women. So there's no wonder. There's no wonder. I'm talking about the current stats now. Earlier, there were always a lot of more men early in the 50s and 60s and 70s, so more men in schools. But now there's less men that are doing this job. So these young men now are being taught and being what's the right word? Trained up to be quiet, less rumbling, less loud talking, less being aggressive. And I'll talk about that stuff in a minute. But the women now are softening our young men. And then you have the television, the feminist movement, no fathers in the home. All these things have weakened men and made them more feminine. And I already alluded to it, but I said this is number 6. Lack of male role models. I grew up in a single parent household. My mom had 5 children. My mom was on welfare a lot of times. She worked sometime, but most of the time she's on welfare. We lived in the projects in West Dallas. We lived in the projects. We lived off of food stamps, government aid. They'd give us clothes, food, shelter. Government met our needs because there was no daddies, okay? There's no daddies around writing checks, giving child support. I had, uncles and relatives. I had one particular uncle who used to help us out. But for the most part, my grandfather died, early on. He was a great role model, but I was young when he died. But the solace that helped me and a lot of young men like me is they had the boys club. That's back when the boys club was really the boys club, not the boys club and the girls club. So that's what the devil does. The boys clubs had men there, men who were mature, men who had skills, men who had abilities, and we were taught, and when we got out of order, those men put us in check. I mean, they would paddle us, they would, string us up and challenge us. They taught us how to have respect for one another. These were men raising men. Now, the devil got in and made it a boys and the girls club. The devil got in and destroyed the Boy Scouts. The devil got in and made the Boy Scouts start accepting homosexual, lesbian girls. So all this stuff designed to help men become men has been destroyed. That's why we got so many feminized men. That's why so many men have become more feminine. And the last thing I'll say, number 7, is this culture is trying to reconstruct the natural characteristics of a man. They said boys are rough and tough and aggressive and loud and unemotional and fearless and emotionally unattached, and that's not good. We've got to do something to make these boys into what we want boys to be. So this culture had an experiment, starting with the feminist movement, the welfare system, which paid for men not to be in their homes. The welfare system, our government helped to eradicate men from our homes when it was required by law that if you have a man in your house, you cannot get a welfare check. You cannot get a Section 8 house. And that ran men off. And so now their last design is to redesign young men. We don't want them aggressive. We don't want them to have macho. We want to get rid of ego. We want them more like a soft and cuddly and squishy and sensitive and caring and all soft. And so now men dress like girls, they talk like girls, they act like girls, they cry like girls. And now all the women, all the girls are saying, where have all the men gone? Well, our culture has turned them into women. And now they want to go a step further. They want to say to your young boy, if you feel like a girl, now we can cut your genitals off. We can make you a girl. So they spent 60 years getting rid of men, raising men up under women. And then they say, if you feel like a girl, well, why wouldn't I feel like a girl? You spend most of your time directing me in the way of being a girl, getting rid of male role models, getting rid of those who would help me become a man. And so you put me up under the tutelage of just women. So I'm going to want to be like those I'm around the most. It's a tragedy. And I've gone too long in this video, but it's a tragedy. Where are the men? Men, help me. I need any man listening to this video, any men watching, even women watching. Let's bring our men back. Help our men become men. If you're a single parent, if you're a single mother, direct your young man to other men, to men in your life, brothers, uncles, grandpas, principals, teachers who are real men. Say, hey, help my son become a man. Because our culture is failing, is falling because lack of men who have been called by God to be what men are to be, who to be brave, to be fearless, to be aggressive, rambunctious, heroic, action-oriented, fearless, strong. Why has our culture decided to feminize the men? It's the devil. I think it's the devil. So, failure to honor God, fatherlessness in the homes, a domineering mother or matriarchal environment, the feminist movement, most of the teachers are women, lack of good male role models, and a redefining of character traits of young men has caused today's young man to be more feminine. And that's a sad state of affairs for our nation. Hey, I'm Michael Roy. This is Out of Faith with Michael Roy. I pray that this message hits you, helps you think about where we're going as a nation. We need men because men have always been, shall always be the backbone of this culture for the glory of God. Hey, God bless you and God keep you. Till next time, have a blessed day. In Jesus' name. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hey, God bless you. Until next time.